What's up? I am Runs with Alpacas, and I have another deck profile. This one is for Inzektor Metalfoes. This is a deck I put together recently because I wanted to play something more combo based and that was a lot of fun to play and that had a lot of spice built into it. And I think the deck that exemplifies all of those things the most is Inzektor Metalfoes. Plus, on top of that, it's really cheap to make and it's a lot of fun to play. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. To start off, I play 3 copies of Insector Centipede. Once per turn, you can equip an Insector monster to Insector Centipede from your hand or graveyard. And then when a card that is equipped to Insector Centipede leaves the field, you get to search your deck for any Insector card. So Insector Centipede is essentially your Stratos for the Insector archetype. It's really good. I play 3 copies of it. Next, I play 1 copy of Insector Dragonfly. The only reason I play 1 Dragonfly in this deck is because it's 2018 and this card is still limited to 1. It's limited to 1 for a good reason. It works the same exact way as Insector Centipede, however this will tutor out any Insector monster from your deck. So that's not once per turn, so I think we can understand why it's limited to 1 still. Next, I play 3 copies of Insector Ladybug. Insector Ladybug has a really good effect while it's equipped to an Insector monster. It can send itself from the field to the graveyard to increase the level of that monster by 1 or 2. The level modulation isn't that important. What's important is that it can send itself from field to graveyard. So you don't have to waste a Metalfoes monster on Ladybug. It does the job on its own. Gets the summon with Dragonfly, gets the search with Centipede. Really good. It's very important to play the Insector monsters that send themselves from field to graveyard. Saves you a whole lot of trouble. Next, I play 1 copy of Insector Hornet and 1 copy of Insector Hopper. Again, I only play 1 Hornet because for some reason this card is still limited to 1. I think between this and Dragonfly, Hornet could easily come back to 3. It has the same ability as Ladybug in that it can send itself from field to grave, and when it does, you pop a card on your opponent's side of the field. You can recycle this card a whole bunch, so I don't think having multiple copies would be too bad for the state of the game, but it's still at 1, so I play 1. And then Insector Hopper can also send itself from field to grave, and you can target an Insector monster you control. It can attack directly. Only good for pushing for game, I guess, but again, this is important to play the Insector monsters that send themselves from field to graveyard. Next, I play 2 copies of Insector Gigaweevil and 2 copies of Insector Gigamantis. These cards have the same purpose in this deck. They equip themselves from your hand to an Insector monster you control. They can't send themselves from the field to the graveyard, so you do have to pop these with your Metalfoes monsters. When these are sent from the field to the graveyard while equipped, you can special summon an Insector monster from your graveyard. Gigamantis restricts you from being able to summon itself. Gigaweevil can summon itself, so mainly I will search for Gigaweevil so that I can equip it and then summon itself back to maintain board presence and to use it for link material. So I like Gigaweevil a little bit more, but Gigamantis is good for that 2400 attack. That's important because I think this deck wants to go second a lot of the time to rip through boards and then, OTK. That's it for the Insector monsters. For the Metalfoe lineup, I play 3 copies of Metalfoe Steelin, 3 copies of Metalfoe Silvered, 3 copies of Metalfoe's Gold Driver, and 3 copies of Metalfoe's Volflame. These are the only Metalfoes monsters I play. I don't bother playing Bismugear. I just opt to play the normal monsters because they're easier to search with certain spell cards, and some of the fusions require you to have normal monsters, so I just play 3 copies of all the normal Metalfoes monsters. That's 6/8 scales and 6/1 scales, so it all evens out. I think this is the best lineup of Metalfoes to play. That's it for the monsters. For spell cards, I play 3 copies of Insect Imitation. This card is really old. It dates all the way back to Pharaoh Servant, and from these two cards you can see that it dates all the way back to when magic cards were a thing. But anyway, you tribute one insect monster you control, and you special summon one insect monster from your deck that's exactly one level higher. So Insect Imitation is really good with Inzektor Ladybug, because it summons either your Dragonfly or your Centipede. Most likely you'll summon the Dragonfly, equip the Ladybug, and then summon the Centipede. After that, equip the Ladybug to Centipede, get another search. So Insect Imitation and Inzektor Ladybug really gets your plays going. It's a really, really good old spell card. Next, I play 2 copies of Insector Sword Zectaliber. This is just here to have another equip card that you can equip from the hand to pop with the Metalfoes monsters. It is really good that it increases the attack of the Insector monster by 800, but it's better that when this card is sent from field to graveyard, you special summon an Insector monster from your graveyard, so it maintains some advantage and still helps facilitate some plays. Next, I play 2 copies of Painful Decision. Painful Decision searches for 9 of your 12 Metalfoes monsters, so I opt to play 2 of it because multiples of this card is dead in your hand, so you really only want to resolve it once. I play 1 copy of Summoner's Art. This searches for the other 3 out of the 12 Metalfoes monsters, so that's why I only play 1 copy of it. It's, again, only good the one time. I play 1 copy of Foolish Burial. This is really good if you're going second to send Insector Hornet, and if you're going first, you send the Ladybug to start the plays with Centipede and Dragonfly. I play 1 copy of Reasoning. I think Reasoning is really good for this deck because you have levels 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. So that's 5 different levels that you might be able to summon off of Reasoning. Most likely your opponent will call 4 if they don't know what deck you're playing. So this will definitely resolve if they call 4. If they know what you're playing, they're going to call 3, in which case you're going to want to side this card out. But it's good for the first time, just as a surprise card. And I play 1 copy of Monster Reborn. Just a really good card. It's awesome that it's back to 1. Not much more to be said about that. For the Metalfoes spells and traps, I play 1 copy of Metalfoes Fusion, 1 full Metalfoes Fusion, 1 copy of Counter, and 1 copy of Combination. The only one I would consider playing more than 1 of is Metalfoes Counter, but you really want to cut down on the amount of Metalfoes cards you see in your hand, other than the Pendulums. Those are the only ones you want to see. You want to search all of these out. So I play 1 copy of each, and it's been working out pretty well. That's it for the main deck. For the extra deck, I play 2 copies of the new Link Monster Insector Piccofelina. This came out in Flames of Destruction just recently, and it's a really awesome card for the Insector archetype. When it's Link summoned, you can discard 1 card to equip an Insector monster from your deck to another Insector monster you control. So that's really awesome to get out your Hornet or your Ladybug to start those plays with the Centipede and the Dragonfly. And then its other effect is that you can shuffle 3 Insector monsters from your graveyard into your deck and draw 1 card. So it helps you to maintain some advantage, and the ability to equip an Insector monster from the deck is just really awesome. This card's great for the archetype. I play 1 copy of Decode Talker. This is the only other Link I play in the deck. I thought about playing an Electromite, but Electromite doesn't come up enough in this deck. You mainly use the Metalfoes as their pendulum scales. You don't really summon them out that much. So I opt to just play 1 copy of Decode Talker to end on, because Piccofelina only has 1,000 attack, so it's better to end on a Decode Talker than this card, but you're going to go into this card a lot. For Xyz monsters, I play 1 copy of Breaksword. In my opinion, this is the best rank 3 to go into. You can go into it with, I think it's Silvered is the level 3 Metalfoe, and then Dragonfly and Centipede are also level 3, so you can go into Breaksword real easily. Again, I think it's the best rank 3 to go into. Next, I play 1 copy of Steel Swarm Roach and 1 copy of Baguska. This deck doesn't have a very good turn 1 play, so I play these as defensive options if I were to go first. Bagooska is just a good general defense card. The only reason I play Steel Swarm Roach is because I play against Blue Eyes a lot. One of my friends is just a Blue Eyes fanatic, so I'm always playing against that deck, and Steel Swarm Roach shuts that deck down. It stops Alternative, stops Dragon Spirit of White, stops Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. It basically just stops all of their plays that they want to do. So I play that just for my own personal reasons. These two cards can be anything else that you want, really. Next, I play one copy of Insector Exostag and one copy of Insector Exabeetle. These two cards function basically the same. They're kind of like Relinquished in that they take your opponent's monster and equip them to themselves. They gain attack and defense based on what those monsters were. They're really only good going second. Even though this one's a rank 5, you can still make it because Insector Ladybug increases levels of your monsters. So I have these two options for going second. And the last Xyz monster I play is one Photon Strike Bounzer. In my opinion, and at least for the cards that I have right now, this is the best rank 6 to end on going first, because it provides some interruption to your opponent. It negates a monster effect once per turn, and then does 1,000 burn damage. Really easy to make with the Gigamantis and the Gigaweevil. So I play one Photon Strike Bouncer. I've liked what I've seen with it. Finally, for the Metalfoes fusion monsters, I play 2 copies of Alcahest. It's probably the best Metalfoes fusion monster, so I play 2 copies of it. Then I play 2 copies of Mithrilium. It's equally as good as Alcahest, so again, I play 2 copies of it, because those are the 2 you want to go into most often. I play 1 copy of Orichalc, not as great, but comes up sometimes. And I play 1 copy of Adamante. This actually comes up the most, but it's only a vanilla fusion monster, so it's not worth playing more than 1 of. It comes up the most because you can make this using the Insector monsters, but yeah, that's the fusion lineup. It's been working pretty well. So that is the entire deck profile. This is my first time trying to play the Metalfoe Insector conglomerate. I've really liked the play I've had out of it so far. The only problem is that this deck is like a total glass cannon. It auto loses to cards like Effect Valor or Infinite Impermanence, because if they Valor your Dragonfly or if they Valor your Centipede, your turn is basically over. There's not much you can do, and you don't play any defense in this deck, so you're most likely just going to lose if those cards happen. You can maybe recover if you can Pendulum summon out more copies of Centipede, or if you can Pendulum out the Dragonfly. But yeah, it's a kind of a glass cannon deck, but it combos off real well. When you are doing the combos, it's very fulfilling. So that's the whole deck profile. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if there's any improvements I can make. Quite frankly, I don't know if this deck can improve that much, but let me know anyway, and see you later.